Hey, Retcon Raider here, and welcome back to episode 40. In the last episode, the greenskin invasion finally came to a very abrupt and unexpected end. But that's certainly not going to stop the raiders from rousting a few more orcs. Today we're going to get a little payback for that invasion by heading deep into orc territory, starting with this stronghold. Now, coming into this, I knew this was an orc stronghold, but I didn't know exactly what type of orcs we'd be dealing with. There we go. Alessandro's already dropped an orc young. We can only see about half the orcs so far, but if we're lucky, they're all going to end up being orc young. If we're unlucky, there might still be some orc warriors or an orc war chief hiding in the back there. For now, let's just keep peppering these guys with arrows. Unfortunately, they've created kind of a cover chain here. Mark lands 2 crippling wounds. And unfortunately, due to that cover, these guys are going to be able to engage our front line pretty easily. Well, regardless, we should be able to handle it pretty easily. At the moment, we're using our strongest front line. Moving it around 2. Let's see what happens. Well, the good news is at this point, looks like just got stunned. Wajtek quickly fires through the ranks, tearing apart that orc young. But the orcs are undeterred. Looks like Roderick is stunned now. At this point, we can see all of the opponents. It is nothing but orc young. They might wrap around our line and pose an actual threat to someone, but otherwise this should be a slaughter. It's just going to be a little slower than usual because these guys appear intent on stunning all of our heavy damage dealers. Potato just doled out a pierced leg muscle there. There's Caravan keeping the flanks clear. There we go. Mark drops an orc young, puts an arrow into another one. Alessandro fires through the ranks, drops a second orc young. And Roderick got stunned again. That's unfortunate. I was really hoping he'd be able to leverage that elevated terrain. Rondis is up. Takes a quick stab with his dagger, then draws his greatsword. But he can't get past that wooden shield. Janos strides forward, draws his great hammer, and prepares an arcing swing. He manages to sprain an orc's ankle. Not as impressive as I would have liked, but damage is damage. Reinhard moves up and pierces an orc's side with his spear. Then he switches off to his dagger and gets in another quick stab. Caravan keeps their southern side contained as well by moving up to engage. And he manages a single strike, though he doesn't get through the thing's armor. Henry moves up and goes for a wounded target, dropping it efficiently. We've taken out 3 orc young so far, and they have inflicted no significant injuries in return, though they do keep stun-locking our heavies. This time Rondis is stunned, but it's not stopping our archers from continuing to tear them up. There goes another one. Looks like we've got an orc young that managed to engage Woe. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Potato fires through the line, inflicts some morale damage. I got plunges his dagger through an orc's hand, then switches off to his axe, and practically decapitates it. Henry manages to stab an orc in the foot, then switches off to his dagger and inflicts another light wound. Woe begins fending off his own foe. And now Caravan is stunned. Alessandro lays down some cover fire for Woe, puts an arrow through an Orc's hand. Mark carefully takes aim, but can't get past his target's shield. Got some minor armor dings on Reinhardt and Rondis, but certainly nothing to worry about. Reinhardt switches back to his spear, plunges it through his primary target's shoulder, and Janos is up, handily crushing one Orc and warding off another. That Orc with the hand axe just took out half of Reinhardt's armor. Now it's a little more concerning. Roderick finally gets to go. He strips off half an Orc's armor with his first swing, then shreds its arm apart with the second. That leaves it relatively defenseless as Wojtek mows it down with a few more arrows. And Wojtek lands another shot. Not against his intended target, but he still killed it. Henry just dropped another Orc with a barrage of dagger strikes. Woe fells his opponent with a volley of dagger strikes as well. Yeah, we're mulching these guys so quickly I can barely keep up now. Let me slow down a little. We've got an Orc that just engaged Reinhardt, but he's doing fine. Alessandro will move up and take a shot at this Orc. He peels off its armor and inflicts a light wound. Igot steps up to engage one of the last Orcs on our front line, but can't quite get past its shield. Mark fires through the ranks, breaks an Orc's morale by putting an arrow through its shoulder. Then Rondis moves up and decapitates the flabbergasted Orc. Nicely done. Caravan lays into a heavily armored Orc young. The first strike doesn't do much, but the second one tears through its hand, and the third one pierces its side. And that's why I love taking the dagger specialization. Janos crushes another Orc into the ground. Just 4 more to go. Henry just got stunned on the south. Potato moves up to fire between Rondis and Caravan. Lands a solid hit. Wojtek needs to swap to a second quiver. And he fires past Janos, finishing off another Orc. Roderick steps in and decapitates the Orc on Henry before he moves up to engage the second to last Orc. Alessandro moves to get a clear line of sight, lightly wounds the other Orc. Igot moves up to join Reinhardt, but misses his dagger strike. And Rondis. Rondis slays the second to last Orc, and all of the raiders begin converging on their final opponent, who, unfortunately for him, is pinned between a line of brothers and a tree. Janos leapfrogs the line, grabs his dagger, and lacerates the Orc's hand. Can we finish this thing off before the end of the round? Probably not. Oh, Reinhardt. Oh no, Reinhardt's exhausted. Alright, round 6. And Wojtek finishes off the last of our foes, earning himself a level up, level 9. And Woe hits level 8. Congratulations to both of you guys. And it looks like Wojtek also pulls undisputed MVP with a whopping 5 kills. Now, looking at the loot, whoa, hey, what do we have here? Baldur Bloodbeard's Protector, a finely crafted heater shield made almost entirely out of metal. Melee defense 20, range defense 15, max fatigue minus 21. It actually doesn't sound any better than a normal heater shield, except the durability is higher, but that's offset by the higher fatigue on it as well. Not really great as far as legendary items go, but I'll give it to someone, mostly just because it looks pretty cool. At any rate, let's get after that other fleeing greenskin horde. And welcome back. After a short chase, we managed to catch up with the fleeing horde on the coast of this little bay area here. Thankfully, they decided to skirt the swamp, which made it a lot easier to run them down. It's a mixed batch of orc young and goblin skirmishers, but honestly, it's nothing we can't handle at this point. Though that is an awful lot of jagged pikes. I think that's about the only goblin weapon that can actually inflict any serious injuries on us. We'll just have to prioritize those frontline skirmishers with our initial volley of arrows. Wojtek puts an arrow through one of the goblin pikeman's arms. But the goblins are too spry to be hit by Alessandro's barrage. Fox drops the first of our enemy pikemen. Bunny drops the second. That leaves us with one pikeman to deal with, but hopefully our frontliners should be able to ward off his attacks long enough to let our archers drop him in round 2. I forgot to have Rowan start the battle with his crossbow equipped. That means he's going to have to waste time reloading it. The rest of our men will hold their ground for the moment. We'll set up our spear wall to receive the charging orc young. And let's move into round 2. Looks like Reinhard got netted, and that lowered his defenses just enough to let that pikeman stab him. Definitely a nasty wound, but no serious injuries, so I guess he got off pretty lightly. Rowan reloads and fires into the greenskin's ranks, but he can't land the shot. Still needs a bit more field experience, I suppose. Wojtek puts an arrow through an orc's kidney, then kills it with the second shot. Alessandro takes aim at that pesky pikeman and shoots it right in the face. The orc young are moving up, but they're being uncharacteristically cautious. I guess they were... Fox takes down the last pikeman. Yeah, I guess the greenskins are understandably cautious after watching this kind of carnage. Bunny takes down the one-eared goblin skirmisher. That leaves us with just 7 opponents on the field. And we'll keep holding position. It's working for us so far. Keep those spears at the ready. Let's see if we can get that net off Reinhard. There we go. It's a sad day when a goblin is bolder than a pack of orcs. There we go. That seems to have shamed the rest of the orc young into action. They're all trying to seize that elevated terrain in the middle of our line, but they're not having much luck with it. Retcon and Bellefontaine made a pretty good showing of themselves despite their low levels. They managed to fend off every orc who tried to move in front of them. Alessandro lands another hit on the orc line. Wojtek fires 2 more arrows into the line, breaking an orc's morale. Rowan reloads and... still can't land a hit. Bunny drops the badly wounded orc at the center of their line, and then peppers the rest of their number with an assortment of critical wounds. Fox quickly capitalizes on it, killing the last goblin and doling out 2 more critical hits. And Rondis, tired of waiting, finally moves up to engage. He draws his greatsword en route, then plunges it through their ranks. But quickly gets stunned in return. Bellefontaine leaps up onto the elevated terrain, slays the badly wounded orc that Rondis engaged. Eraton quickly rushes around him to engage another orc, killing it as well. And our entire north line begins wrapping around the remaining orc force. Gilraen takes off an orc's ear, then takes its life as well. At this point, we've only got 2 orc young left on the field, but they're both armored, and both of them still have their morale intact. So in theory, they're still combatants. That means that we can't get too careless. If either of them is wielding an actual orc weapon, they could inflict some serious damage before we put them down. Well, one of them's trying to flee, so that does reduce the potential risk. Looks like our archers are up, but I'm not sure how much they're going to be able to do at this point. I guess they could take some pot shots at the fleeing orc. Let's bring Bunny a little closer. No hit there. Let's see if Fox can do any better. Nice, he puts an arrow right through the fleeing orc's neck. Belfontaine moves up to engage the other orc, but can't land a hit. Eraton joins the melee, but doesn't have enough action points left. Janos and Reinhard continue wrapping around. And Gilraen. Gilraen draws his spear. Ooh, but he is now thoroughly exhausted. I guess we're pretty much done for the round, so moving into round 5. Archers are back up. Let's keep firing on that fleeing orc. Alessandro manages to land a decent hit, and Wajtek finishes off both orcs. Nicely done. No level ups, 2 archers tied for MVP. And about, 700, 800 gold worth of loot. All in all, not bad. With the Heimwart Castle ruins still smoldering in your wake, a group of people come out from their hiding places in a nearby copse of trees, where they had been watching the battle from afar. An old woman approaches you. "Those green-skinned fiends drove us from our farm outside Dornan, but thanks to you stalwart fellows we will prosper again. This is for you." She proffers a bag of apples. Though it isn't much of a reward, the sentiment will be repeated again and again as word spreads of the orcs' destruction. Janos barks out a laugh and bites into one of the juicy apples. "With orcs, the big ones are too slow, and the young ones too stupid. Strategy overcomes brute force every time. The great green beasts depend on fear to do their work for them. Stand fast and they can be beat like everyone else." The peasants marvel at Janos' speech and prowess and strength, clapping their hands and showering him with compliments and patting him on the back. While certainly true words, this is hardly the audience that should put his advice to use. You lay your hand on Janos' shoulder, as if to say to drop it a notch, lest any of the peasants think themselves heroes next time they spot a greenskin. Well, that takes care of another ambition. Better late than never, I suppose. We get renown and a lot of morale in that orc trophy. Everyone's in a great mood, except for Eraton there, who I guess is just too drunk to know what happened. Now we're headed back to town to sell off all this loot, but let's take a quick look at that trophy. There it is. This necklace of bones taken from a berserking orc declares the one wearing it a veteran of many battles against the green beasts, and not one to be beaten by brute force. Grants immunity to being stunned. Well, that's, again, better late than never. That would have been great when we were fighting orcs nonstop. I'll probably give that to either Janos or Rondis, but it'll require unequipping their dog, which is a bit of a shame. I'll give it some thought while we're headed back to town, and hopefully we'll get a little use out of it in our next fight. Either way, let's get ourselves back to Dornan. And we're back again. We still haven't quite gotten to Dornan. In fact, as soon as we were within sprinting distance of the town, we ran into this little group of orcs who were rather boldly trying to take down a caravan just outside the city limits, so since we were too late to save the caravan, I decided we'd go ahead and pop over to at least avenge them. This should be a very short and bloody battle. We're only up against 7 orcs. And Potatoes already started us off by doling out 2 critical hits. Mark puts another arrow through an orc berserker's arm, and then his chest as well. Now the orc young are moving up to provide some scattered cover for the berserkers. Our front line prepare their spears. And everyone holds their position, though we do have a few more archers who need to take their shots. Fox takes aim. And drops the lead berserker with 2 quick arrows. Bunny takes aim as well, focused on the lead orc young. She trims him down a little, but nothing serious. And the rest of our boys just hold steady. Moving into round 2. We've got 1 berserker clearly trying to circle around the north side of our line. And the other one, the one wielding the berserker chain, headed straight for Janos, no doubt looking for a challenging fight. Potato puts an arrow through his shoulder, Mark puts an arrow through his neck. Fox just finished off the last berserker as well. And followed up by dropping one of the orc young. Rondis, always eager for battle, steps forward with his sword in hand and shreds apart his target's armor with a single blow. Oswald moves in and quickly takes a pair of strikes against the unarmored orc, breaking its morale. Dominic steps up to engage another target, and does fairly decently for a relatively inexperienced fighter. Reinhard joins him, and then Jano steps up and delivers the finishing blow before locking down the last unengaged orc. Woe moves up, Henry moves up, and round 3. Looks like they snuck in one last hit against Janos there. Not that it's going to help them. Henry drops the badly wounded orc, leaving us with just 1 more. Woe trims off half his armor. Her archers are pretty much done, so they'll just hang back and save their arrows. And Oswald steps in. That breaks the orc's morale. Dominic circles around to take one of the last empty slots. And he puts his spear through the orc's neck. And Rondis starts rushing around, eager to grab that last slot, but Reinhard beats him to it. I guess now there's nothing to do but keep cycling actions until someone can finish this thing off. The orc is trying to flee, but because we left him no openings, he's just going to stand there bleeding, and there we go. No level ups, but Fox pulls MVP with 3 kills. And once again, nothing impressive as far as loot goes, but we'll grab a few of these orc weapons, and that'll net us a few hundred gold. Now let's go tend to our bookkeeping. Sigurd of Dornan welcomes you and walks you toward Dornan Square. There's a party of peasants milling about, but when they see you coming, they shape up and start talking as though they'd been expecting you all along. They mostly talk in descriptions. Tall as any man, armor like you've never seen before, spears as sharp as a peddler's tongue. You hold your hand up and ask what it is they're talking about. Sigurd of Dornan laughs. The men here say they saw some oddities out in a spot by the name of Last Hope's End, just west of here. Naturally, they weren't out there for no reason. They were looking for something by the name of Star Map Disc, a relic dear to the town, for through it we pray for food and shelter. One of the peasants speaks up. And we was looking for it at his behest. Sigurd of Dornan nods. Of course, and where they failed, perhaps you can succeed? Get this relic for me and you'll be paid quite well for your services. Pay no mind to their fairy tales. I'm sure there's nothing to worry about. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, it's a pretty paltry payday, and this will almost certainly put us up against some undead, but since it's a one-skull contract, I'm sure we can handle it. And it sounds like it'll give us an excuse to once again delve deep into orc territory. So let's see. Oh, there it is. It's a bit of a walk, so let's get going. And welcome back one more time. I had hoped to round out the episode with a quick fight against some undead, but it looks like we're finishing it off with another brief battle against some orcs instead. This is a full war party of 13 orc young, but as we've seen, at this point we can mop the floor with these guys pretty efficiently, so let's get it done. The orcs are, as usual, charging right towards our lines, and our archers are taking the chance to pick them apart. Potato and Mark manage to fell our first orc. Then Mark puts another arrow through a second orc young's arm. Rowan takes aim with that crossbow. And he plants a crossbow bolt in an orc's side. Not too shabby. Undeterred, the rest of the orc young are still charging our front lines. Roderick holds steady, bracing for impact. And the rest of our brothers follow suit. Reinhardt and Caravan prepare their spears, ready to funnel the orc young into our heavier weapons. And moving into round 2. Janos gets stunned by the initial clash. The rest of the orc young behind that first orc approach more cautiously. For good reason, because Wojtek and Alessandro make short work of that eager orc. just got stunned. And Roderick. They're stunning our entire middle line. Alright, well, Potato fires past Rondis and fells another badly wounded orc. Vlad is up, but he doesn't have any open targets. Roderick just got stunned again, poor guy. Of course, these, I just put the orc trophy on Rondis, and now, of course, he's the only heavy that they're not targeting with stun attacks. Just how the RNG works sometimes, I guess. Alright, well, speaking of Rondis, he draws his greatsword and plunges it through the orc lines, lacerating 2 of their arms in a row. Reinhardt moves up and drops an orc on the north side, then quickly falls back in line with the others. Kazarin takes a step forward to keep the orcs contained on the south. And this is a pretty heavily armored target, but he takes a quick jab with his spear, then switches off to his dagger. No significant damage. Vlad moves up, puts his pike through an orc's neck. And round 3. Another orc engages and... Wojtek handily fells a pair of orcs on our front line. Roderick is stunned again. That is incredibly frustrating. And Reinhardt was just stunned as well. Alessandro puts down another orc. Roderick is double stunned. Fortunately, it doesn't stack. Rowan fires through the ranks, but can't get past his target's shield. Potato puts an arrow in an orc's chest. Another orc rushes forward and stuns Vlad, but is quickly rewarded with a pair of arrows as well, breaking its morale. Janos is up. He takes a quick stab with his dagger, and follows up with 2 more, dropping his target. Rondis misses his primary target, but opens up an artery on the orc behind him. Kazarin unleashes a flurry of dagger strikes, dropping a badly wounded orc and then putting his blade through another orc's shoulder. And round 4. Wojtek drops our 4th to last orc, then puts another arrow through another orc's neck. I got tears into that orc with his dagger, but only lands 1 hit. Vlad finishes our 3rd to last orc with a quick pike thrust. Rowan gets 1 more shot. He'll move up and go for the weaker of the 2 targets. But no luck. Sorry, man. Potato moves up and takes a shot. Lands a light hit. Alessandro will fire at the one on Reinhard. No luck there. Reinhard plunges his dagger into the orc's chest and then lands a 2nd shot on its shoulder. Mark moves up to join Potato, but can't take a shot just yet. Rondis moves in and finishes the 2nd to last orc, leaving us with just 1 more fleeing target to deal with. Janos is quick to lock it down, lands a nice arm hit. And the rest of the brothers converge, but the battle will be over in just another second. Roderick steps in, readies his dagger, and despite that ridiculous stun chaining, fells our final foe. Plus he just hit max level. Congratulations, Roderick. Looks like Alessandro is up a level as well. And no significant loot, but we'll grab the tools, we'll grab the arrows, we'll grab the melee weapons, and what the heck, we'll grab the rest of this junk too, but we'll probably end up dumping it for better loot somewhere down the line. At any rate, we're past the 30-minute mark, so next time we'll slaughter this 2nd little band of fleeing orcs, and then we'll push on to Last Hope's End. Hey, Retcon Raider here. So far, it looks like our little counter-invasion is working out quite nicely. I think we cut down at least 30 or 40 greenskins today, and we even managed to net our 4th unique item. Granted, it would have been nice if it was something a bit more impressive than a big metal shield, but I'll take what I can get. Of course, we're not going to just keep pushing around a bunch of orc young. Next week, we'll be taking on our 2nd batch of skeletal undead, and then we might just try to tackle our first big greenskin outpost. I spotted 2 greenskin camps on the way over to Last Hope's End, but I haven't decided which one we're going to try our luck with. One stronghold is led by a goblin overseer, and the other is led by an orc war chief, so either way it's likely to be a pretty challenging battle. But at least that will finally give us the sort of bloodbath that I think we were all hoping to see before the end of the invasion. I didn't mention it during the episode, but our latest ambition is to impress a noble house enough to earn their respect. That's no small feat, but at the rate we're currently winning battles, we should have it done in no time. This is Retcon Raider, signing off. Thanks for watching. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Battle Brothers, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website or the fan-run wiki. Links are in the description.